Hello, this is the Cowboys and Unicorns podcast. I'm D Swizzle.
And I'm Dan Tiernan.
And I'm back in Minnesota.
Back in MN.
Where you should be.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Oh well. So, I just said D Swizzle, but the other day, someone who we both know decided to nickname me Young D.
Oh no.
Thought that was a good idea to call me publicly in front of a bunch of people. And then he forgot it was Young D and decided to say Little D.
Oh no.
Oh.
So you can't tell me the name of the person?
Well, we'll leave him unnamed, but he has been on this podcast before. And he used to be a very direct coworker of yours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
You know who that guy is.
Yeah. So I can't remember if I said this story in the podcast before or not, but you know Pat Franey?
Yeah.
Duh. Do you know Pat Franey?
Yes, I do.
He used to call me Big D at church.
Oh, really?
One time, like when I was moving out to California and he called me up to the front of church to like pray for me and send me off. He was like, Big D, get up here.
Yeah.
And yeah, he kept calling me that for a season, but
he moved on past that.
Hopefully. Yeah, thankfully.
Yikes. Just think if he had heard that I was Little D, then he would, call the two of us Big D, Little D. It'd be quite awkward.
Right. For sure.
So, what's the latest and greatest in Ecuador?
Well, I was going to ask you first. So you said D Swizzle, which is like a bad rap name.
Yeah.
If you were legit going to be a rapper.
Okay.
What would your name be?
Oh. That's a hard question.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to I'll think about it through this episode and I'll have a decision by the end.
Okay.
Do you know your rap name?
Not completely. One time I was at this basketball camp.
Okay.
And it was this Christian week-long basketball camp in Bismarck, North Dakota.
Yep.
And the camp was really cool because they would have an NBA player in each week.
Oh.
I mean, it was a week. Yeah, it was only a week long, but every year they'd have a different NBA player.
Yeah.
And for some reason, like camps are filled with activities or whatever, and you had all like your small group throughout the week or whatever.
Yep.
And there was a day where one person from every group had to rap. And we had to rap about the NBA player that was there.
Nice.
And I don't know, looking back, that sounds really silly. And the guy who was an NBA player was not a rapper or anything. I don't know. It's probably just a bunch of white people coming up with ideas. I don't know.
Right. It sounds kind of like racist. They're like, well, we're going to have these NBA people. They're probably going to be black. And,
yeah. Rehashing
rap
it now,
is
it sounds... Yeah.
Yeah.
This was probably like 2008, so maybe it just isn't aging well here. But it's okay. So anyways, I was the rapper for my group.
Nice.
And I rapped to Spudweb about Spudweb. And he was a basketball player from the 80s and early 90s.
Right.
Who won a dunk contest. He was like 5'7". Anyways, super nice guy. He signed my Nike bag and basketball card and stuff. But I rapped in front of him, and my rapper name was Mayonnaise. Because I was so white.
There you go.
So that's what first comes to mind, but I think like you, I would also need to work on it.
That's super clever. I'm impressed.
Yeah. Shout out to my small group leader who came up with it.
Mayonnaise. Yikes. Yeah, I don't know. I've never thought of myself as a rapper, so it's like a whole. I'm probably gonna lose sleep if I can't think of a good one.
So when I was in Reading, like hanging out with the Bethel folks,
Yeah.
one night we were hanging out in this park, just a bunch of students, and there was this girl, and she she was black, and she was talking about she was had joined the worship team at Bethel,
Okay.
and one of the like senior worship leaders at Bethel like saw her trying out or being on one of the teams or something, and she was a good singer,
Yeah.
and and asked her if she rapped. And so we're like in this park just chilling, and she was telling the story to her friend, and I overheard it.
Yeah.
She's like, so and so, I'm not gonna say his name, but
Yeah.
so and so asked me like, hey, do you rap? And she was kind of offended by it, as she should be, because
Right.
there's
It's just like, really?
conceivably no other reason why to ask this singer on your worship team if they can rap besides the fact that she was black. So,
But I feel like that's kind of like classic, like, especially this half of the United States, right? It's like, especially like good Christian small town people and stuff.
right,
It's like,
right,
you just assume, like, oh, like
right,
stereotypes. It's not because it's rude, like intentionally, like it is rude, but it's
right. Not
more
even,
just because, like, out of this innocent, not understanding that stereotypes are rude. You're like, oh, well, you're black, you're a good rapper, you play basketball, and you're Mexican, you play soccer really good.
oh man. I think she was from like the East Coast and from like a city in the East Coast, and Reading is like no black people in the woods in Northern California.
Right.
But
So,
anyways,
so what do you think that other races say about white people? Are they just like, yeah, you're not talented at anything, but you stole all of our stuff, and you're just fat and rich, or?
I mean, why are we getting into racial stuff? This is
I don't know. Hey, at least we're not like trying to actually say anything legitimate on the subject.
right, right.
I'm having a really good beer right now.
What are you having?
It's called the Honey Robber Cream Ale by Blue Point Brewing out of Long Island.
Nice.
And it's like amazingly honey-y. It's like you probably couldn't drink more than one, but it's got like a very honey flavor.
Okay. Yeah. A little overpowering, maybe, or distinct
Right,
to have to.
like it's refreshing, but it's also at times you're like, oh, like I'm drinking.
Right.
It's almost like you're drinking tea that you added a lot of honey to with just a hint of like the yeastiness of beer.
Okay.
So, if
Sounds
that paints
interesting.
a picture for you.
Mm-hmm. So I went to the equator this weekend.
Did it change your life?
No, but it was fun. Uh, they have craft beer at the equator.
I
So
saw that. Yeah.
I was surprised and happy. I was like going to the bathroom, and there's a bunch of little shops and restaurants,
Sure.
and this one little shop said like Museum of Artisanal Cervezas, which is like craft beer museum.
Oh wow.
And so it wasn't much of a museum. It was kind of a room with like 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 the basic process of brewing or whatever.
Yeah.
But I tried their sampler. They had a golden ale and like a red ale and like a dark. I don't know if it was a porter exactly, but like a dark beer. It might have been an ale too. But I had tried the sampler out, and it was pretty good.
So, how far is the equator from where you're at right now then?
Probably
Like obviously you had to drive there or take it?
Yeah, we took a taxi there. Probably at least an hour 20.
That's
So,
not like that far though.
no, it's not. Right. So, the equator, so if you're like going downtown Quito to the equator,
Okay.
um, it's probably like 50 minutes to an hour.
Sure.
But you're still basically like in the city, because it's a big city.
Yeah.
Maybe like at the edge of so it's probably like super north, like north of Quito, and we're like south of downtown Quito.
Sure.
Like it takes a half hour probably to get to downtown because we're sort of in the valley suburb area.
Right.
Hop on the freeway, 25 minutes, you're downtown.
Yep.
And then this is like at the northernmost point, so another maybe hour.
Yeah.
And you're kind of driving up hills for part of it, so that probably lengthens it to more than the miles.
Right.
Because you're in the mountains.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it was pretty sweet. There's no so the funny thing is there's no lines or order to it.
Okay.
And everyone's trying to get the perfect Instagram picture.
Right.
But everyone is in everybody else's way. So there's like this monument in the like middle that has like a little world at the top, and you can go up and look out.
Sure.
And like go up the stairs, and there's a little museum inside. But there's all these people trying to do poses like with the correct camera angle to look like they're holding the ball on top of the monument.
Yep.
Like the world. And there's these little stands, and every time you try to take a photo, there's like someone else posing in the background.
Right.
And there's no line.
Oh man.
And
so just a free for all.
Yeah. And
Crazy.
there's different languages being spoken.
Yeah.
Because they're tourists and
so it's a big tourist trap kind of a.
Yeah, I mean I saw some white people but I actually met this one girl from Colombia. We were like sitting down and grabbing some coffee, and she came outside and like asked where I was from.
Yeah.
And to like practice her English and stuff.
Or she was trying to figure out where to find you and kidnap you from because she's from Colombia.
No, she was probably 100 pounds lighter than me and wearing a silly hat. But
well, her father would come kidnap you, Dan.
Yeah, I guess I didn't see her father. Maybe he was hiding in the shadows.
I'm a terrible person.
Right. I do have this feeling of being safer because I'm in Ecuador than Colombia, though, and I don't know if that's just my brain. Like, just from whether it's from media or history or whatever, I was like, I'm in Ecuador, not like Colombia's probably like 5 hours away, so I should be good.
Which isn't that far, Dan. I think you should come back to Morris.
Nice and safe in Motown.
Yep. I will never have to worry about getting kidnapped in Morris.
Mm-hmm.
At least I don't think I'll get kidnapped in Morris. Seems pretty low percentage there.
Yeah, that's true. People are pretty small here, so unless they have a weapon.
Right.
Okay, you know what is weird? And I was talking to Kaylee about this, and I feel like this is going to help me identify with like immigrants and people like minorities more, like when I come back to the States.
Sure.
Because you have, there's like these weird like human responses that aren't logical.
Okay.
Of like fear. So, like Kaylee was talking about, she was in the like sometimes she's getting like a little nervous in taxis or whatever. I mean, you're just in the car with somebody else, and you're kind of trusting them to take you where you want to go.
Right. Yeah.
And then the other day I was going, like walking a half mile to this little shop that has groceries, like to pick up some vegetables and fruit.
Yep.
And I kind of step out of this gate, and now I'm in this neighborhood, and I just had like this flash feeling of, this is not my community. Like, I don't know any of these people. I don't speak Spanish. Like, I'm not from here. And if they all wanted to like hurt me, they could.
Oh man.
And like it for like a second and a half, right?
Right.
That like human instinct of being like, I don't belong here at all. Crap. What if they don't like me?
Right.
And obviously no one was threatening me, and it was 9:30 in the morning, and I was just going to go get vegetables.
Yeah.
But it's like those moments where you're just
Oh,
uh,
for sure.
where you kind of have like an irrational fear, and that's something I don't think I've quite experienced before.
Yeah. Yeah, you're completely out of your comfort zone and
Yeah, and there's kind of like, I mean, my wife has a job here, so there's a reason to be here. But like other than that, it's kind of like, what? Why are sometimes people look at you in the street like, what are you doing here?
well, right, that's the thing. You know why you're here, but like no one else probably understands it. They're like, "What?
Right. Yeah.
A little pasty blonde white kid
Right.
that's twice as tall as them running around
Yeah. Some people
screaming."
smile and laugh, especially if you try to speak like a little Spanish, and
Yeah.
they're like, "Who is this dumb
Yep.
white person?"
How's the Spanish progress coming though?
It's coming okay. I have a little app called Duolingo,
Yeah.
and I need to I need to make sure I do my lessons every day on that. But I do some lessons on that, and then uh, I'm getting better in the taxis at like telling people like right or left, like directions,
Yeah.
and asking questions. I mean, some stuff is pretty simple. Like today, I went to go get the keys to my apartment copied.
Okay.
So I just use broken Spanish. Like I just say like a question. So that's una pregunta. And then I just ask like how much does it cost to copy the keys? So it's like cuánto cuesta copiar las llaves.
Sure.
Just like, and then they're gonna copy your keys and you give them money and you say gracias, and so basic stuff like that.
Right.
But
So
it's
do
still
you
empowering. It's still empowering to do that when like no one's next to you, you're by yourself.
Yeah.
With 6 words in a classroom, it would feel like nothing. But doing it in real life and actually having a transaction happen and having the
Right.
person nod at you and do what you ask them, and then you give them money and then you go. It's like baby steps.
Right.
But it feels good to do it sort of in real life.
Right. So do you have Kaylee like walk you through what you need to say when you go do things for the day? Like or do you look it up and do it yourself and
She
try?
will she will text me like if she wants me to ask her landlady a question, she'll like basically give me the words.
Yeah.
Or stuff, other things I'll just listen to her talk to people, and
Yep.
then when she's not there, I'll use the same words that she uses. um,
And they're like, "What? You just called me attractive?"
no, I'm careful. uh, but also understand more than well if it's slow enough. So I can understand a lot of what Kaylee says because she says it at medium speed,
Yeah.
whereas people speaking in their native tongue say things really fast.
Right.
Um, but I watch TV that's and it's either dubbed over it's either in Spanish, English, or like entertainment from the U.S. that's dubbed over in Spanish,
Sure.
or English with Spanish subtitles.
Oh, I could see how that would be kind of helpful. Just
Right, the subtitles are helpful.
right.
Um, but yeah, I could probably be doing it more systematically. I'm more focused on trying to get a job
Right.
as my number one priority. But I feel like I'm definitely learning.
Yeah. So do you think Spanish, like, is that if you were gonna pick just a language for fun to learn, what language would you actually choose to learn?
Well, I'm not super into learning other languages, so I don't think I would pick one for fun.
Yeah. Same.
Which maybe sounds terrible, but that's just kind of honest. Like the process is mildly enjoyable, but
Is it even
uh,
enjoyable, Dan?
my favorite part of learning Spanish is the pronunciation. I like how Spanish is pronounced.
Sure.
I like how that's my favorite part. The grammar sucks. Uh, Having limited vocabulary sucks. but I think it sounds cool. And it's all the same alphabet, which is super nice. So it's interesting to see the difference between how the vowels are pronounced and how, I don't know, it's just like a variation on how you would say certain combinations of letters.
Right.
That's my favorite part, which isn't super helpful. But yeah, no. If I was just gonna pick another language, it would for sure be Spanish. It's the most useful, I think, if you live in the
Yeah.
United States, because there's tons of immigrants
Right.
in the States who speak Spanish, and tons of kids who are growing up like speaking Spanish and English, or Spanish at home, English in the school.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, it's
so
probably in the States, it's probably the best language. Like if you wanted to learn a language to be able to add value to like a resume and things like that,
yeah, or
Spanish is
even
probably the one.
living in a community or being able to communicate with more people, in a city or in yeah. I think I think sometimes, so I'm not really an expert on the whole diversity and multiculturalism and all those types of things
Yeah.
that some people are, or a lot of people are passionate about, and the people that are working towards, inclusion and all that type of stuff. But sometimes I think there needs to be uh, sometimes I think we don't talk enough about the benefits of learning another language or appreciating another person's culture or being accepting of people that are, foreigners or whatever. Um,
Like just
like the
as
benefit,
Americans.
what?
As Americans, we don't do a good job of that.
Right, or as people who are part of the majority or whatever. So,
Right.
sometimes I think the argument, which is a good argument, can be based like solely on moral, like what's right and what's ethical as
Mm-hmm.
far as like equality, which is obviously a super good argument and really important. Um, but sometimes I think, uh, like the argument towards the benefits for both sides of of being humble enough to learn about a different person's culture, uh, are not talked about as much.
Sure.
Like if you know two languages, you can talk to that many more people, which means you can make a connection to that many more people, and you can experience things.
Oh, for
Like you can
sure.
experience a different perspective, you can experience different foods, you can experience different ways of living, which will actually, not that you should do it for selfish reasons, but there are like selfish benefits to learning another culture, and those. I don't think we talk about those enough.
Well, and what's kind of amazing is like growing up in the church and everything. I mean, the Great Commission is to go make disciples of all nations and everything. But
Mm-hmm.
in America, very much you get kind of like the most Christians are Republicans, and it's very much like hey, like we're in America, it's the place to be. Other people want to come here, so you often get like, well, we speak English. Do you want to be here? Just learn how to speak English instead of being like, hey, we're supposed to reach out to all the nations, so how about I learn how to communicate to them,
Yeah, right.
There's very little conversation about that.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a humbling to not know and to learn.
Oh, for sure.
But
Especially when you're in a situation like you are where you're kind of dropped into the middle of it.
yeah, but based
It,
on choice.
right. Yeah, but I mean, if I was trying to just learn Spanish for fun, it probably wouldn't have to be very humbling because you could just wait until you spoke just fine in Spanish to go try and talk to people. Like there's
Yeah, you could
no
do.
need to force yourself into uncomfortable situations where you might say something wrong or look like an idiot.
Right. I mean, there's probably learning another language is even if you were as fully prepared as possible, probably wouldn't be exactly the same as the real thing of talking with someone.
For sure.
But yeah, you could prep yourself more than I did.
Right. But hey, YOLO.
Hey, it's fun. YOLO. Mm-hmm.
How's your pipe smoking?
I
I
kind
can
of
hear
got
you.
distracted and it went out.
I can hear you try to light it.
Yeah, I was just lighting the lighter for fun.
It is not quite warm enough to smoke here yet, but pretty soon.
What's the temp?
Well, I mean, I could probably be out smoking. I think it's like 25 today or something like that. So it's
Yeah,
not terrible.
I hope living here doesn't make me into a wimp when it comes to being cold.
Well, I feel like
It might.
it probably will for a little while, but it's always miserable to go somewhere else, but your body acclimates pretty quickly.
For sure. And I spent my formative years in the Minnesota tundra.
Right. Minnesota's
It's also
strong.
yeah. It's just weird because when you're in Minnesota in March and you say it's 25, that sounds reasonable.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've experienced like below 55
Since you've
since
gotten
I've been here. Right.
Yeah. So it was funny. We were in St. Cloud shopping this weekend, and it was like really nice weather out and everything. And you're walking between stores and things, and so we just would carry Remy, and she'd be in short sleeves, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I had so many older women like passive aggressive, like try and shame me that she didn't have a coat on. They'd be like, "Oh, you don't need a coat," like as they'd walk by, and I'm like, "Stop judging my life choices."
So you're going from where to where without?
Well, like from the car inside a store, right? And she's in a blanket, but not like, not.
Okay, so there's a blanket.
Yeah, so like she has a blanket.
Okay. I was about to judge you with the old ladies if she didn't have a blanket.
No, so she had a blanket, but she didn't have a coat. And all these passive aggressive 60-plus-year-old women are like, "Oh, she doesn't have a coat." And I'm like, you know what? She's survived the first 9 months of her life, so I'm obviously doing something right.
Right. Something right. It's interesting to see. I haven't experienced it a bunch, but kids, it seems people are a little less protective physically of their kids. You know how people talk about like hovering parents in the U.S. now, and how like no one scrapes a knee.
Yeah.
Because parents don't even let them be in a situation where they could scrape their knee.
Yep.
I saw this little kid outside of our house on Sunday. We were going to the basketball court across from our house, and this little kid was like running down the hill. And I was waiting for him to just go, and it's like cement, and it's kind of steep.
Yeah.
And I was just waiting for this kid to just face splat. And surprisingly, and to his credit, he didn't. But I've noticed more of that. And sometimes when we go into the city, there's kids playing, in the grass area in between like an intersection, and their parents are close by.
Sure.
But there's less regard for, a bus is super close, or
Right.
there's cars there.
Like more, hey, learn from your mistakes type
Yeah,
of like freedom to try things. And
yeah, I don't know. There's really a different relationship between people and cars here. I don't know if that sounds funny, but cars basically have the right of way. So
Okay.
as a pedestrian, it's a completely different mindset. Like you're constantly on the lookout.
Sure.
But because cars are always coming and will never stop, you take more, like you calculate more. The car is not like like I can run across the street right now, so I will.
Right.
And then I can run across and have a little bit of room, and I could wait for this car to pass and then go. So
Right.
like I've adopted adopted it pretty quickly where I'm doing that too.
Just so there's basically more personal accountability. Like, okay, you don't
Yeah,
go run in front of a car just because you think that it should stop for you.
right. It would slam on the brakes because it would expect you to figure out when it will and won't be there.
Right. But if you got hit, it's not like everyone would sue and be like, wow, how dare that guy hit you? It'd be like,
It must not be.
huh.
Yeah. And
Which,
the
I mean,
lanes,
I agree with in some senses. It's like, seriously, people can be like you need to parent your kids and teach them common sense and things like that, and not just expect that the world will, like parent them for you.
yeah.
But,
So for example, there'd be a situation where a bus is coming and there's a mother and a child on the sidewalk in between the street and the store.
yeah.
And the sidewalk's pretty skinny. And in the US, the mother would for sure be holding that kid.
Right.
So that the kid doesn't run out into the street. But here, the kid is just standing by the mom. And, I mean, not running out into the street. But
right.
when the bus goes by, it's going to be, 2 feet away.
Yeah.
So that's just it's weird to see, and it's a different mindset. But I haven't seen anybody get killed.
Do you think, I think it'd be interesting, like, to see a group of tourists, like American family with their young kids, like in Quito, right alongside like your everyday family that lives there. It'd be an interesting study just to kind of see the differences of culture.
To observe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, it's being in a city too. But it's so even though we're more in a suburb area, it still has a city feel because things aren't that big. Like everything's
Right.
a little bit smaller. The streets are smaller. The buildings are like the individual rooms within the buildings are smaller. Everything's really close. It's tight.
Sure.
So part of that is probably what I'm experiencing as well because I'm not from a city.
Yeah.
But it's different than it's way different than like Minneapolis or the suburbs and stuff.
Right. Way different than anything you've ever had experienced before.
Yeah. There's more people live here more out and about, I think. Especially in the afternoon or evening.
Sure.
So like there's like in every town or community there's like a little plaza. And people are just there could just be like a ton of people just hanging out, like sitting on benches or around like the fountain, or like people are out and about more.
Yeah.
And maybe that's too because it's a warmer climate. Like in Minnesota, people are in their houses 9 months out of the year.
Yeah. See, that's got to have some to do with it, but
For sure.
I mean, do they do like siesta, like a nap time over lunch, like a 2-hour break there? Or?
I'm not completely sure. One of the weird things, I think all the meals are a little bit farther back. So if you go to the cafe around noon, it's pretty dead. But if you go at 3, like everyone's grabbing a sandwich and coffee.
Sure.
So I think that lunch is closer to 3, and the dinner's probably closer to 8:30.
See, I feel like I don't remember what the exact timeline was, but like even at our plant in Brazil, like they still have siesta time or something like that. So it's like there's actually like a 2-hour break in production or something like that in the middle of the day. And then, they just come back after that 2-hour time where they go eat and nap and then work up, later in the evening.
Yeah. I can't tell if it's just a longer day because Kaylee's work starts at 7:45, and I'll walk with her to like the bus stop at 7:15 or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's tons of people like there's plenty of people going to work by 8 a.m.
Right.
or by 7:30. It's not like everyone's sleeping in and going to work at 10 or something.
Yeah.
So I can't tell. It's like obviously people are starting their day. Maybe it's just elongated. I guess if you took a 2-hour break, then you would work till 7 and then get supper by 8:30 or something.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Huh. Culture's pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, to my U.S. mindset, no way I would want to take a 2-hour break and then go back to work.
Oh yeah. No, I'm totally the type of person.
Can I work 6 to 2, please?
Let me go in at 6 o'clock and be done and have my entire afternoon and evening, or.
Yeah, for sure.
And I even hate just taking breaks. I just want to power through, get whatever I need to do done, and
get out of here.
When I'm done, I want to be done,
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah.
But work is never done.
Never, never.
Unless you don't have a job. That's got to be kind of nice sometimes. I don't know who doesn't have a job, though.
Right. Well.
Except for my podcasting partner in crime.
Unemployment is such a weird battle because there's part of it that is obviously nice because the mornings are way more relaxed. Get coffee,
right?
Do the dishes. I'm doing the dishes I didn't do the night before, going for a run, taking a shower, slow, right? Watching a little TV, and then applying for jobs all afternoon and then getting home or whatever.
Right.
But the weird thing is you can't mentally it's so hard to enjoy it because you feel like you're cheating the system, right? Or something. You don't feel worthy. I'm running at 10 a.m. instead of 5, which is super nice, right? To get your workout done in the morning so you don't have to do it later.
Yeah.
But it's hard to enjoy it because
you feel like you should be working.
Yeah, that Midwestern guilt kicks in, and you're just like, I should be laying bricks or something right now.
Yeah. See, I would love to have 6 months where I didn't have to do anything. Haley started, working out every morning and doing all this stuff, and it's like, I want to do that. I don't want to have to wake up and go to work and come home, and then by the time you get home, you're like, well, I'm just a little bit mentally exhausted, and I'm just going to watch Netflix, and then by the time you finish watching Netflix, and then you just drank a beer, and you're like, well, I can't go work out now because I just drank a beer, so I guess I'll go to bed because I'm tired.
Right.
Oh, well.
I try to think back to life in the cubicle where I would have longed for just a couple days to freely, chill and
right, so that you can appreciate it a little more.
Yeah.
I can I'll bring a GoPro and document a day in the life just to remind you. I was in 9 different conference rooms for 9 different meetings today.
I don't know if that's.
I think I had an hour and a half of unscheduled time, between all of them. It was just the worst. Because you never get anything done. Meetings are I enjoy meetings because it's troubleshooting and vision casting and all that. But then if you spend your whole day in meetings, you get all these to-dos and you don't get anything done. I don't know.
Here's what I think. I bet meetings are fine once you reach a certain level of management.
Where you can delegate. Where you get action items and you delegate.
Once you're in the yeah, once you're, because then at that point the work is executive. You're getting paid to make decisions, to be strategic, to
Yeah.
facilitate communication between different parties,
Right.
and and I mean I guess I've never been in upper management, so I don't actually know, but this is what I'm assuming. So the meeting could be productive to you because that's your job. Your job is to bring people together, facilitate communication, cast vision,
Yeah.
make sure there's goals and there's actions that line up with those goals.
Right.
Uh, but when you're the bottom person or you're the
It's okay. I'm on the bottom.
doer guy, then right, it's like stealing from your work time when there's more than enough tasks to get done.
Right. But it's hard because, like I said, I actually do enjoy them, but it's so easy to,
I
if you
mean,
spend a day in meetings, it's so easy to get behind.
yeah, it's fun when it's fun when you feel like there's actual ground gained in a meeting,
Right.
even if you're like they can be a break from just sitting at your desk pressing buttons.
Right. Or like you get to be a part of the solution that then you get to help make the decision and then you get to go do the work, but then at least you have kind of like a stake in what you're doing. It's like, yeah, we're doing this because I actually thought it was the best idea and got the rest of the team on board versus, oh yeah, like somebody told me I need to do it, so I'll do it. You can
Yeah.
find a bit more purpose and attach a little bit more in like a this is fulfilling way than when you just kind of get a list of, hey, here's what I need to do. Don't ask me why I need to do it just because I don't know. I'm just supposed to do it,
Yeah. Yeah.
But
one thing I was going to say earlier was about like the job and career thing was I was talking with Kaylee today and basically about our choice to pack up everything and move away.
Yeah.
And there's a sense of adventure and a desire for that. And at the same time, it's like you made this choice for adventure and freedom and something like, not crazy, but something interesting to do in your 20s.
Yep.
And at the same time, we both have the desire for it to like benefit our career or like to be the right choice.
Right. Long term, right choice or whatever.
Long term, like you're hoping that you don't have to derail the career in order to do the adventure. But what
Right.
I was bringing up, because she was talking about some of maybe the standards of her school, or she's just different things. Not that she likes her school and everything.
Yeah.
But just like ever and I was kind of talking like, well, we made this choice, so that might cost. Like the best choice for our careers wasn't to move to Ecuador. Like
Right.
that wasn't the optimal decision. The optimal decision was something else in the States on some sort of educational or corporate choice.
Right.
And so there's like the risk you're taking is I want the adventure, and you're not going to throw this year and a half away and be like, we're going to find something to put on our resumes for this.
Right.
But if it doesn't turn out to be the best decision for our careers, that's okay, because you've got to understand that's part of the cost of going somewhere else.
Yeah, of getting the advantage.
Like, yeah. Oh, it's kind of hard. It's interesting to try to put that in perspective and try to understand. Sometimes if you want everything and you don't understand the cost, like the opportunity cost of your decisions, it can bring more anxiety.
Right.
But,
no, that seems like a healthy perspective. Like, hey, we may have sacrificed a little bit, but you get the adventure while the rest of us sit in Minnesota and you get to go to the equator and
yeah.
and like
we can just move back and get jobs.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'll find you a janitor position somewhere.
A janitor position.
McDonald's is always hiring.
Dude, that's true. That's actually there's like a security in that in the States. of being in your own country and like knowing what the minimum wage is. Like here, I mean, there's one McDonald's. It's an hour away.
Right.
Like there's a security in the States because I know that I could go deliver pizzas at night and work at McDonald's in the morning shift, and I could, like, even if like everything went bad, I could go work some minimum wage job.
Right. Like,
And
you know that there's
like,
6 or 7 places in town
yeah,
where you could
I could scrape
right
by.
by. Yep.
Right? Get me on that government health care. I'm working at McDuck's. You know.
Yep. Oh, man.
Here you're like, I don't know if I get a job at a gas station. Like they'd be like, "Can you speak Spanish?" You're like, "No." Like, okay, you're not qualified.
Right.
Work at a restaurant? He keeps getting the orders wrong, you know.
Right. Yeah, dude.
But sorry, I feel like this podcast has just become the Ecuador show. I don't know if it's interesting or not.
Hey, until people start saying that we need to stop talking about Ecuador, then we just go with it, right?
For sure.
Someone from work said that they heard we mentioned her, gave her a shout out on the podcast from all of our listeners. I'm like, wow, we actually have people who listen and then tell you about stuff.
Crap, who did we mention? I'll have to think about it.
It was in the Pekin episode.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I was like, but then I'm like, I don't think that you're upset about this, but why are you telling me that you heard that we shouted out to you? I offered her that she could come on the podcast to talk about it.
Oh, perfect.
So
I was up for guests.
Heck yes. We need, like, if anyone's actually still listening to the podcast, at this point, we'll probably take you. So let us know if you want
Right.
to come on and talk about your life with us. You can even
not,
like out loud judge us for our conversations and share your differing opinions.
Mm-hmm. So the cool thing is, if you ever had a really successful podcast, would be the ability to just pick guests or invite guests who you are really interested in.
Right.
Like Joe Rogan says, he basically just like contacts people that like it's like scientists or artists or comedians that he wants to talk to.
Yeah.
And like learn from. And he's like, "Oh, hey, you're a physicist. Like, could you tell me about the stars for 3 hours?"
Yep.
And then he's got such a big platform. Like, it only helps people who go on his podcast to plug whatever they want to do for 5 minutes.
Yep.
You know? And so he just kind of has the pick.
Yeah, that would be fun.
I've been listening to the Bill Simmons podcast. He's like a sports guy.
Okay.
He used to work for ESPN, but he's run. You're not really a sports person. Have you ever heard of like 30 for 30, like the ESPN documentaries? Okay, he did those. And he's the CEO of a media company called The Ringer now.
Okay.
But he's really interested in movies, so he's a sports guy, but he has all these like famous actors and directors on because he likes to talk, like, nerd out about movies.
Sure.
How cool would that be to be like big enough where, you know, the directors are just like, "Yeah, sure, we'll come on."
Yeah. Yep. Someday we'll get there, Dan.
Right.
Who's the first person, like famous person, that you would call up and ask to come on the podcast?
So my first thought, without thinking about it, was Jack Black.
Interesting.
But that's my go-to for who I would, my like celebrity hangout.
Yeah. Which basically that's what the podcast is, right? It's like,
yeah. Because I think Jack Black would be, well, first of all, of course, entertaining, but I think he's the type of guy that is a star, but he would be a good hang. Like he'd be down to earth enough to go grab a burger,
right?
And just like be
He'd,
silly and stuff. Like,
exactly, it would still be fun and like not like a okay, so you brought me here. I hope you have something really important and like really deep stuff to entertain me because
Right.
I'm important and otherwise you're wasting my time type of thing.
He's a good combo of he'd be zany and crazy and as Jack Black star as possible,
Yep.
but he wouldn't it wouldn't only be BS. You know what I mean? He'd be like,
Right.
"Hey man, let's get some tacos or something." I don't know.
Yeah, that's I can't think who I would like. My first thought was John Mayer, but part of me would be worried that he would just be a douchebag.
Right.
Like that he would just be too like aloof and whatever.
That's what this Bill Simmons guy was. He's like a huge Celtics fan from Boston. And he said the first time he like interviewed Larry Bird, he was terrified. He's like, what if he's a dick? And
Right.
then my whole world comes collapsing down because my favorite athlete of all time was like rude to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I would just cry myself to sleep every night if John Mayer was just a jerk to me.
Can you imagine the pressure though of being famous and every person would have that feeling like if you're not
Right?
like really friendly and on for them,
Yeah.
like what if you're just having a normal day and someone's deciding you're like, hey, but you don't like stop and talk?
Yeah.
And then that person goes on Twitter and is like, David Swedburg is a jerk. He barely looked at me when I saw him in the mall. I wanted to ask him to have a picture, but he didn't have the time.
Right.
And you're like, dude, I just went pee. I'm trying to like grab a coffee before my flight.
Right. Yeah. See, that would be, I mean, you even look at like upper management, like in the companies that we've worked for, it's like even when one of them walks in, like everyone has that, like most people have that same anxiety of like, oh no, like they're probably judging everything that I'm doing, or, like even at that level, you have this, you would have to like navigate, okay, everybody wants something from me, everybody expects me to act a certain way. Like, how
Mm-hmm.
do I maintain like the truest like me while also respecting others and all that? Like,
Yeah. Or some people would stay away from you or something.
right. Or just
You
would never be like like real with you. They'd never be honest because they feel like they can't.
right? Like, what if you're sitting in an airport or something, and next to John Mayer, and then you're like super conscious of, I don't want to bother him. I don't want to seem like a crazy fan.
Right.
But if it would have been any other person, you would have made a comment about like their shoes or like the magazine they were reading, and you could have had a normal conversation or something.
Right.
They're probably deprived of that too, just like the little interactions, like the friendly interactions.
Oh,
I don't
for
know.
sure. Yeah, just I'm sure more than anything what most of those people want is for somebody to just like not recognize them and have a normal
Mm-hmm.
down to earth conversation where it's like, "Oh, hey, like I've read that book before. What do you think about it?" You know,
Right, right.
and completely not realizing that you're talking to someone that anyone else would just be fangirling and trying to like, you know, get a selfie and
Uh-huh.
ask for their deep thoughts about, their favorite song or favorite whatever.
Uh-huh. I've heard like LeBron James, like his whole crew that he hangs out with is all his friends from high school.
Really?
It's just like those are still his friends, and obviously it's safer. They were buddies with you when you were 16 years old.
Right. Like they liked you before you had
You had any
anything to
contact.
offer.
Yeah.
Yep. But hmm.
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever have to worry about that type of fame.
No, probably not. Seems unlikely. But I don't know that I would really even want to. I mean, being famous seems like just a lot of work.
Yeah. I think I'd be okay if like I think it'd be cool to sell 10,000 copies of a book. I wouldn't mind if 10,000 people knew what my name was.
Yeah,
And then like 1,000 of them actually cared.
right,
I think that'd be like the level, like you have like the respect of your peers and like a small audience of people who
right.
care about your creative work and your thoughts.
So, are
I
you
think,
working on writing a book or anything right now?
yeah, so I just created the Word document, novel manuscript one,
All right.
the other day. And I put in part one, part two, part three. And other than that, it's a blank page.
There you go.
Uh, so it's funny you mentioned that because the last day and a half, 2 days, I've been mulling over what just like ideas for the story while I run and do chores and stuff.
So, is it going to be fiction, nonfiction? Like, what do you have any actual?
It's going to be fiction, yeah. So
Okay.
I want to write a novel.
Yeah.
And yeah, I wasn't thinking to really start writing it this year because I've been focusing on doing the blog every day,
Yeah.
or not every day, every week. The short stories, danieltiernan.com/labels. Please subscribe.
I'm subscribed. So,
That's good.
how many do you have?
I have 20 subscribers.
Oh wow.
Uh, yeah, small beginnings.
Hey, I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah. I have 760 followers on Instagram. So that's probably my bigger following.
Right.
But I was like, you know what? I'm in Ecuador right now. I live in this little tiny cabin of a house.
Yeah.
Like, why not at least get a rough draft in the 18 months while I'm here? And yeah, why not get it out there and then I can, refine it or show it to other people or get it edited afterwards. But it's interesting because like I'll think of ideas and then I'll think of all the people. It's like the hope is people that you don't know would read it.
Right.
Because if just people you know would read it, they could, like, nothing would, I don't know if anything would be interesting because they'd see too much of you.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
Like,
I feel like if I'm going to write anything compelling, there's going to be a lot of, like, my own story or my own life or my own ideas in it. Even
right.
if the names and faces and situations and facts are changed.
Right. So then everyone's basically drawing parallels to what they know about you.
Right. Like if you like sell 100 copies to all the people who know you best, that's just going to suck because it's not going to be cool to anybody because they've heard you talk about your life before.
Right.
What's that in the Bible? Like a prophet is never respected in his own town.
Right. Something like that. Yep.
Like even Jesus did miracles in Nazareth where he's from, and people are like, whatever.
Yep.
Like it's just Jesus.
Yep. They're just like, whatever.
Okay, he's got some following. People think he's cool. Yeah, we knew this kid when he was, 4 years old and could barely.
Yeah, he was a good kid. He didn't ever steal any cookies from the cookie jar or tell any lies.
Thinks he's special because he's so well behaved. Well, but yeah, I'll probably be working on that as well.
Sweet. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I kind of want to figure out. So I wrote like a short little book in college that I'm not that proud of anymore, but I self-published that in between my sophomore and junior year, and I've thought about going the self-publishing route again. But the key, I would think, is to make it seem as not self-published as possible.
Sure.
So I want to, if I have the money and the resources, I want to hire like a professional editor, which I guess I don't know how much that would cost.
Sure.
Or at least like hire them for half the time they would work on a normal project or something, or maybe
Yeah.
an aspiring editor or like a junior editor or something. Find something, and then you hire somebody to do the layout and hire somebody to do the book cover design.
Yep.
So basically, just do the writing
Yeah.
and uh, well, and probably a lot of the marketing, the writing and the marketing, so that it would seem as professional as possible.
Right.
And there's so many people that could do that now. I feel like that would be okay. But my other idea was to find there's some smaller presses, like smaller independent book publishers,
Yep.
and it'd be interesting to see if I could possibly um, like publish a book on one of those, like something more independent.
The other thing is, it's so easy to network these days, you know? Like, you'd have potential to network with, someone who's just getting into publishing or, you know, kind of find on social media some people who seem like they fit with you, but are just kind of in the same vein trying to get some traction in the world, and you might be able to.
Yeah. It's amazing how easily you can get people's contact information today.
Right.
So, like for example, I was emailing people at PR agencies in the U.S. Just asking uh, if they have like if they ever do like remote positions,
Yep.
and so like not like asking for a job or applying or anything, just finding the HR person, sending them an email like, is this something you do at all? Here's my resume, whatever. Just to network and get connections and
Right.
look for possibilities. And the second I got an email back from like an HR person from the second biggest, like revenue wise, PR agency in the world,
Oh wow.
like within an hour today. And I was like, what? Like her email was on their website, like in the footer. I sent her an email, sent her my resume. Turns
Yeah.
out they don't, like they don't do anything remote, but she sent me like a personal note telling me
Oh.
that within 40 minutes. I was like, oh, thanks, HR person from the second biggest PR agency in the world. Like,
Yeah.
it's just kind of crazy. And, I mean, there's tons of people that don't respond to you if you cold call, email them.
Right.
But some people do. And you can play the numbers game of I'm going to send out 100 emails. And if I get 2 responses, maybe something can happen.
Right. Hmm.
And I'm talking too much about myself, man. I'm getting tired of this.
Whatever. I got nothing interesting, yo.
David, the life you have, I want in like 5 years.
Yeah. Oh man, that's.
Get the
Sometimes I relate
get
to
the
that. Sometimes I'm just like, holy crap, I'm only 23. Like, what else does my life hold for me? And I'm only a quarter through it. Not even a quarter through it, potentially.
Yeah. But if you, I mean, I don't know how many kids you want. Like, what, maybe 2?
Yeah, that's hard. I mean, I would be happy to not have any more kids and, like, look at adopting, personally, at this point. I thought I
Okay.
wanted, like, 3. And I like the number of, like, 3 kids, right? Because they can kind of all play together, but it's not too many. But,
Yeah. Okay, so let's say you have one more kid, either adopted or otherwise,
yep,
um, in wedlock, of course. And
of course.
I said otherwise. I don't want to make it too free flowing, but like you're gonna be done, not done, but your kids will be out of the house before most other people's,
Yeah,
like of your peers.
right. See, that's the one cool, like, that's exciting if you think about it in those terms of, like, if we only had one kid, I would be 40.
41, 40, 41. Yeah.
Yeah, 40, 41. By the time she's 18 and she moves out of the house, and Haley would be 38.
Yeah, and you'd only have one college education to possibly, I mean,
Right,
I don't know if you're going to pay for your, but only like one person to help support through college.
right.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah, see,
I mean,
that's
yeah.
where I'm like,
What if I'm 40 with three kids still at home, and you're just like, hey, Dan, can you come over?
right.
Let
You're
me ask.
like, I'm still, changing my last baby's diapers and yeah, see, the only thing I'd say there though is like I was over at Zolzol's having coffee and catching up with him on Saturday, and he's like, I wish that we would have had 3 or 4 kids. He's like, because now they're empty nesters. They only had 2 kids. Their youngest went to college last year. Like, he's like, I wish we still had kids in the house. So that's the one thing is like, it sounds really good right now, but maybe it's not
Yeah,
that great when you, I don't
I
know.
think it. I think it depends too on your personal like ability, like what you can handle.
Right.
So my parents did a great job raising me and my siblings.
Yep.
But I can also tell like I think they got tired at some point. Like you you hit your early 40s and you're still raising little kids essentially.
Right.
I think and you've already raised 4 to 5 and you got 2 more. Like that's a like you're in it for a long haul.
Yeah.
And I think it. I mean, just like watching my own parents, I think you get tired by the end. At
Yeah,
least
for sure. I mean, that's a lot of kids, though. I don't think I would ever. I mean, 3 or 4, I guess I could be convinced, but no way I would do the Tiernan thing or the Morris, Minnesota thing.
right. The only thing is, I'm so glad my parents didn't stop at 4 or 5 because once they're born, it's like I love Vic, Ben, and Tom.
Right.
It's a Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, see, it's weird because it's like no matter what, I mean, if you're a thankful person, right? Like, no matter what, at the end of the day, whatever you choose, like, you can find the good and reasons that like it worked out.
Hmm.
You can also like take any situation and say, here's how it could have been better. But you just can't do that to yourself because
It's
at
not
the end of the
healthy.
day, like, you made your decisions, and like the only healthy thing is to learn from them and keep moving forward. If you stop and slow down and start like saying, "Wow, I shouldn't have ever made that decision," and putting all the pieces together in the most negative way possible, like that's when you hit rock bottom, and that's not a very good place to be.
Hmm.
But
I feel like I have uh, maybe not a gift, but I feel blessed in the fact that I regret I regret very little, even if I can see certain choices in life or certain aspects of it that were bad.
yeah,
I still don't have feelings. I have almost no feelings of regret.
right,
Uh, I've struggled with guilt in my life, but not. I don't know. There's never a choice where I'm like, oh, I should have done this instead. I might have that thought, but ultimately, you kind of know that the choice that you made put you on the path where you are, and I guess I haven't made any choice that's so terrible
right.
as to be regrettable.
Well, and that's yeah,
You can turn the story around in your mind to make it positive too. You can be like, I made this choice and then it was crappy and it wasn't the best, but I did learn from it and it
right.
did cause some sort of growth or some sort of change in my life. I don't know.
Yeah, I was talking to this a gentleman who he was he was telling me he has a son who's like 26 now, but he's severely mentally handicapped and like still in diapers, like
Okay. Yeah.
severely mentally handicapped. And he was like, when I had that son, that completely changed my entire perspective on life.
I bet.
Like, I never have a day, or and I'm sure that that's not completely accurate, but his mindset has changed where it's like, I don't wake up in the morning and be like, oh man, it's supposed to snow today, or oh, the weather's poor, or yeah, I have to go have a tough meeting today. Life is the worst. He's like, every day I wake up and I'm thankful for what I have, the fact that I am a functioning person, and like just how that type of stuff changes your perspective entirely.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like most people haven't ever gone through that type of thing, and so it's really easy to, when you haven't had a huge trial come through in your life yet, it's really easy to kind of sit back and be like, oh yeah, things could be better. I wish I had done this. I wish I had more. And then when you actually lose someone or go through something hard, your perspective changes and you realize, you know what? I need to be grateful for what I have today and not start thinking about, oh, well, could have done this yesterday. Because, that's where, when you start living in the past and the glory days and wish I would have, like, that's when people are, that's where you go to die, basically. Like,
Right.
when you start saying, well, all the best is behind me, or there's nothing better ahead because I made the wrong decision, it's like, that's a super dangerous slump to get into. But
Yeah, there's that verse. I think it's in Isaiah. Man, I'm pulling out the Bible verses today. I
yeah,
sound
Dan.
really saved. uh, Without vision, my people perish,
Yeah.
and that has always stuck with me. And it's super applicable in spiritual or non-spiritual contexts,
Oh, for sure.
where without without a vision, without a hope, without some idea of what the future looks like,
Yep.
yeah, like you said, that's where you go to die.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. And it's hard. It is hard to keep that perspective too, because when things are super fresh and you've just gone through something awful, like, it's easy to, like, if you can get to a healthy state of mind, like, it's easy for the first couple months to remember, like, crap, yeah, like, I got to be thankful for today. Got to remember to appreciate those around me and what I do have. But then give it a couple of years and it is easy to get into just even forgetting that real tough situation that you went through, and the lessons that you learned. It's easy for that to kind of fade with time. But
Yeah. Sometimes I struggle with fear of like losing. So I have like this feeling of being like really privileged or really blessed, and this wondering of like, why me? Like,
yeah.
why was I born? Even though it wasn't a perfect situation, statistically, it was really good.
Yep.
Like like of all the people I could have been on the earth, like the situation that I was born into, and like even being born in the United States and
Right.
into a situation where I was going to get an advanced education, and sometimes I have a fear that it's all going to go away.
Sure. Like that
Like
you
yeah,
got dealt the good cards at the beginning, and so
right.
that you can't keep up on that luck or
Yeah, like what if I like lose my legs tomorrow or something? And like that's a terrible mindset.
what.
But
Sorry, I
hey
should
man, the
be laughing.
buses out here. I've been thinking about my legs more often because the traffic.
Right.
Dude, you'll be on the sidewalk and the bus will come whizzing by you and you can feel like the wind from it. and
Right.
you're not that far away, and it's like a huge, like tour bus essentially, size. It's scary.
And then the dogs. I mean, you could get bit by a rabid dog tomorrow.
I know. I've been doing better with the dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just carrying rocks in your pockets or what?
The other day I picked up a rock to walk past. I told you about the one house that has like 5 dogs, right? 5
Yeah.
big dogs
Yep.
with the fence that looks like it's barely keeping them in.
Yep.
Yeah, I picked up a rock while I walked past it just in case. And then I dropped it a block later. It probably looks scary, like why is this guy holding this rock?
Right.
And that was last week, and then the day I was walking past again, and a couple of the dogs from the same house were barking at me. And I thought about picking up a rock, but this little grandma was walking towards me, and I didn't want her to be scared that I was dangerous.
Right.
As this tall male picks up a rock as she walks.
Yeah.
So I didn't pick up a rock, and then I saw the grandma bark back at the dogs.
Oh, really?
That was hilarious. I was like walking past, thinking about picking up a rock, listening to a podcast, and I see this grandma decide not to pick up the rock, and then the dogs are barking, and she's like, "Quack, quack," like back at him. I was like, oh, I feel safer because this grandma's being aggressive back at the dogs.
You should ask her to just go walk with you from now on.
Right? Like, you live close to here, right? When I go out, can you come with me?
Yeah. I'll buy you some groceries, please.
Well, should we wrap it up?
I suppose it's probably that time.
Okay.
Well,
Tell Remy and Haley hi from Dan and Kaylee.
well, for sure. Say hi to Kales for us.
Okay.
All
Sounds
right.
good, Dave. Good to talk to you.
Yeah. Have a good night, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.